October review. I scared the shit out of you. Don't even lie.
So before I get into this review, I'm going to be going over how my rating system works. So 10 to 7 is a positive review for the movie, with 10 being an absolute beautiful day. 9? It's a 9. Watch the movie. 8 is great. 7 is good. 6 to 4, now getting into the mixed section, with 6 being a possible good. 5, a 50-50. 4, not quite bad, but you get a pass. 3 and under, now being in the negative section, with 3 being bad, 2 being really bad, 1 being the gates of hell, and 0 being nowhere you want to go. So let's get this started.
So today I'm going to be talking about a very popular horror film, It Follows. So It Follows was a movie that sparked a lot of interest because it is heavily depicted on sexuality and STDs, if you want to be specific, possibly to an extent. So this is one of those horror movies that loses a lot of people for a lot of reasons. It's very slow, and not slow burn, just slow. So the first act of this movie, more or less, isn't really anything besides the introduction to the film's nature and environment. And the scares in this movie are very mature and intelligent. In fact, the scariest thing about the sequences in this movie that are scary is when you actually catch them. But this film still captured me regardless of, and these are actually some of my favorite things about the movie, its original and honestly iconic score, and its world. The film does incredible with its ambience. That is its strongest aspect. This is a horror film that is heavily dependent on mood. And I'd go as far as to say as maybe even for the introverted, in my honest opinion. And once you get through the opener area of the movie, the setup and build and pacing, it doesn't fuck around. Everything happens seemingly out of nowhere and goes south super fucking fast. And what I really respected about that is that the film does really well with making sure that the viewers are keeping up. And really quickly, one thing really interesting about this film that I think is very respected, but also is very not, it's a very polarizing thing, is that the film does, I guess, appropriately with answering questions. And it's really good with making the film more clear as it goes on. But my main thing still just seems to resurface, and that is that it's just such a ridiculous story. It's such a bizarre plot. And I think that David Robert Mitchell, I think that when he was making this film, as much dedication and passion and originality that he brought to the movie, I think he in a sense maybe knew and kind of accepted that there were just things that weren't going to add up. So maybe that's where a lot of the closure and explanation kind of comes into play. But back to the scares, they're done in a way, again, that you have to catch them. Because once the movie really starts to get going and you start to follow it, no pun intended, the film does really well with giving that ambience and that dread, and that linger, I guess you could say, that there is always something following. In a sense where the characters just sometimes have no choice but to stay put, and sometimes the camera will do sometimes a very uncomfortable slow zoom or pan. Or, for example, it will focus on, the background for some periods at a time that viewers just won't catch and maybe aren't supposed to catch. But in that case, viewers will miss these very subtle but crucial things about the film. And maybe, in a sense, will kind of, therefore, just fuck up the experience at the end of the day. But overall, this film was a hell of a lot of fun, especially to analyze and theorize and just kind of discuss, honestly. And it's almost just it's kind of timeless. This feels like it's a very John Carpenter-esque film, and it feels almost classic. And again, going back to the questions, there were things that were deliberately and specifically left out in my honest opinion, what I believe. What is its origins? Where did it come from? How did it start? These are all left to the beauty of the imagination. And I thought that was a very fun thing about this film. And yes, while these questions are, again, just really ridiculous overall, if you can ignore the kind of bizarre plot, there are a handful of things in this movie that just make it a lot of fucking fun. I'm feeling a solid 7.5 out of 10 for It Follows. It felt really good to do this throwback review. I have a lot planned for this month, possibly. It depends. I say possibly because there's a lot in the schedule that's still to be released this month that I've, been keeping track of. And then there's a lot of horror films that, I could explore. Because, horror is my favorite genre. I've never actually had the opportunity to focus on not just reviews of horror movies, but October specifically. Like, this is my time. This is me. This is how I win. Get gems. And I really can't wait to put out more videos this month. And I'm really excited to see what you guys think of what I have next. So let me know what you guys thought of It Follows. This is definitely not necessarily one of my favorite horror movies, but it's definitely a very solid one in my lineup. This is a horror film that I respect a lot. This is a horror film that I really love to revisit. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of It Follows. But without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.